Let's get right into it. We're talking about a skill that, honestly, most people just never even think about. But it's the one thing that separates people who just react to life from those who actually shape it. And no, it's not about having a genius IQ or some crazy innate talent. It's just a different way of seeing things. And it all kicks off with one simple but incredibly powerful question.
Just imagine asking yourself that question after a brutal 10-hour competition in something you've dedicated your entire life to. This isn't some made-up scenario either. This is a real question a 13-year-old prodigy asked himself, and that single question would go on to change his life and, eventually, the entire world of artificial intelligence.
So to really get what this invisible skill is all about, we've got to go back. Picture this. It's 1988. There's a huge chess tournament packed with grandmasters. And right in the middle of it all is a kid named Demis Hassabis, who you might know as the future founder of Google DeepMind.
So he's facing this ex-Danish champion, and the match just drags on for 10 exhausting hours. He's so completely drained that he ends up resigning, even though technically he could have found a way to win. But here's the crazy part. He wasn't even mad about losing. He was hit by this much, much bigger thought. What if all this mental energy, all this intense strategic thinking was being used to, cure cancer instead of just pushing pieces around a board?
And you know what's really fascinating is that this way of thinking had been with him for years. Even when he was just 4 years old. 4. Getting beaten again and again by some guy at the local park, he wasn't focused on winning or losing. He was totally obsessed with this question. He wasn't just staring at the pieces, he was trying to figure out the hidden logic, the system his opponent was using to beat him.
And that right there, that obsession with the why that's hiding behind the what, well, that's the absolute core of the invisible skill we're talking about. It's the very thing that allowed Demis Hassabis to build a bridge from a simple board game to world-changing science.
So what do we call it? Pattern recognition. And look, this isn't some kind of superpower you're born with, not at all. It's a habit. It's the simple habit of taking a step back from the immediate result, the win, the loss, the success, the failure, and asking, wait a minute, why is this happening? What's the real system at play here?
And this breaks it down perfectly. There are basically two ways you can see the world. On one side, you've got mindless observation. And honestly, this is where most people live. You see the result, you lost the game, the project failed, and you just react. But on the other side, there's strategic tracking. Here, you're not just seeing the game pieces, you're seeing the logic behind the moves. You stop reacting to the result and start focusing on understanding the system that created it in the first place.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, cool story, but I'm not building the next generation of AI. Fair enough. But this skill isn't just for tech pioneers. Let's jump into a completely different field to see just how universal this is. This is a story about a little mistake that ended up changing medicine forever.
The year is 1928. A scientist named Alexander Fleming gets back to his lab and he finds that one of his experiments, a petri dish growing bacteria, is contaminated with mold. Now, for almost anyone else on the planet, this is just a ruined experiment. It's an annoying mistake. You just toss it in the trash and start over, right?
But Fleming didn't see a mistake. He saw a pattern. He asked this one, simple, but totally game-changing question. He saw this clear ring around the mold, like a little force field where none of the bacteria could grow. So he shifted his focus away from the ruined experiment and onto the fascinating pattern that was staring him in the face.
And yep, that single question, a question that was only possible because of pattern recognition, led straight to the discovery of penicillin. You know, the antibiotic that saved hundreds of millions of lives. So just think about that. A world-changing breakthrough was hiding in plain sight, just disguised as a simple failure.
Okay, so we've seen how insanely powerful this is. But the big question is, how do you actually start building this skill for yourself, like right now? Well, it all begins with creating a simple system to track your own patterns. It's called a feedback loop.
And this is incredibly simple. You can just use a spreadsheet or a basic notebook. Every evening, just take 5 minutes, seriously, that's it, to fill out these columns. What you did, what worked, what didn't, and what you might want to try differently tomorrow. The real secret here is just consistency. After just 1 week of doing this, you stop having vague feelings. You start having data. And with data, you can finally see the patterns.
So what kind of stuff might you find out? Oh man, this is the fun part. You might suddenly realize that every time you talk to that one energy vampire friend, your productivity completely tanks for the next 3 hours. Or you might find your P1 task, that one critical thing that if you just do it first thing in the morning, basically guarantees the rest of your day as a win. You start seeing all the hidden triggers in your own life.
Because really, when you boil it all down, that's what this is about. It's the difference between being a pawn in your own life, just getting moved around by forces you don't even understand, and becoming the player, the one who actually designs the strategy.
Look, the hard truth is that 99% of people are basically stuck in complaining mode. They are constantly, and I mean constantly, reacting to results. A bad day at work, a diet that failed, a dumb argument. It's like they're just rolling the dice every morning and then getting mad they didn't get lucky, without ever stopping to actually look at the system that's producing their result.
But that small group of people who actually develop this skill, they operate on a whole different level. They see the patterns, they stop guessing about why things are happening, and they start intentionally building systems for success, for their health, for their happiness, all based on what the patterns are telling them. They stop reacting to life and they start designing it.
So I'll just leave you with this question. As you go about your day, your work, your relationships, don't just look at the results on the surface. Try to look a little deeper. What's the invisible logic? What's the hidden system that's just waiting there for you to find it? What hidden pattern will you find today?